welcome to the overnight. You can like and subscribe to the channel if you like. Appreciate if you do. If not, no worries. Not worried about that. So, what we're going to talk about today? The 100th season of New York Giants football is now done. And boy, was it painful. Was it ever painful? And finishing out with another loss in Philly. And earlier in the week, Giants fans were getting fucking antsy that they had a chance to win this game because Philly was resting their starters. Do people realize that, we haven't won in Philly since 2013? And you think you were just going to go in there and just beat them? Why? Because we put up 45 on Indianapolis? I didn't think that was going to happen. I knew they were going to lose. And the way they lost, and they had a chance, and the way Brian Daboll, and I'll talk about Brian Daboll in a couple minutes, the way he coached that game was just absolutely just bizarre. Going forth on 4th and 7 early from midfield, then runs the ball 8 straight times. When it's 4th and 2, you heave it 40 yards downfield to Malik Neighbors, who was pretty much almost double covered. And then the substitutions, just switching guys in and out, which just, and when Malik Neighbors set the Giants receiving record, the next series you see him on the sideline with his helmet in his hand, gloves off, and then next thing you know, he's back in the game, and he catches that 45-yard touchdown pass. And then the final drive, when we had a chance, to get down the field and try to tie, he's on the field for the first play. So, and on top of that, you couldn't beat Philly's second and third stringers. And let me tell you something, Philly is a good coach team. I wish I could say that about the Giants because, Philly pretty much played a pretty much clean game. They had one penalty the entire game. And you know what that penalty was? That was on a kickoff, when a kick went out of bounds. You had their second and third stringers play clean football, while the Giants can't even do that. Because that final drive, when the Giants needed to make a stop when they were down 4, and it's 4th down, and you can't just, just stay in your stance, and you go off sides. And then Kayvon Thibodeau, again, roughing the passer at the wrong time. And then Philly kicks the field goal, and then Drew Lock threw the pick. And so I didn't understand what the deal with Daboll was yesterday with that game. I just didn't understand it. It's like he just didn't even care. It's like he was just trying to piss off the Giants fans. And another bizarre move that he did. All year long, they were saying that Josh Yasuda was not going to be a guard. He was just going to be a tackle. And what do we have? And what do we see? We saw Josh Yasuda play fucking guard. It's like, what are we doing here? So today we're going to learn the fate of Brian Daboll. I still think Joe Schoen's going to keep his job and Brian Daboll's fired. Because I'll tell you this right now. If we find out that Brian Daboll is staying I guarantee you this, that Brian Daboll will not last the entire 2025-2026 season. He just won't. When they go 1-6 to start the year, and their offense still can't do a thing, even though they have the 3rd pick in the draft, and nothing has changed. Because if you look at the Giants' schedule, you know, they play the AFC West. You know, you got the Chiefs at home. You know, you got Minnesota. You got Detroit. Yeah, that's a last place schedule. That is a really tough. I think if Brian Daboll gets retained, you're looking at a 5-win game, a 5-win season, with him not even making it through. And Joe Schoen needs one more chance at this, I think, because it's not Joe Schoen's fault that Brian Daboll can't have his coaching staff develop quality into players in the quality that he selects or drafts and do the free agency and shit like that into quality players. Is that Joe Schoen's fault? No. That is on Brian Daboll. That is all Brian Daboll. And then, he was calling the plays this year. And I really think he wasn't. He says he was, but if you look at the difference between him and Mike Kafka was there a difference? There was no fucking difference. It got worse. And the way they handle things in the locker room, which is, what they did to Daniel Jones, and I'm not, defending Daniel Jones' play. He was just fucking terrible. And I said it before the season. It's on Daniel Jones. It's no excuse for him. And he played terrible. He had some decent games, but, but how you handled the benching and how you demoted him, and then, when he asked for release, he didn't go to Schoen. He went to Mara. He didn't want to be there and sit there and do nothing and collect a paycheck. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else where I feel I'm appreciated and maybe I can improve. So, that and, Brian Daboll, I don't think I think he's in over his head. He has issues with his coordinators. Look what he did with Wink Martindale. You don't think he had issues this year with Shane Bowen or Kafka? Why do you think Tyrod Taylor didn't want to come back? The way how he was handled, and the way how Daboll, I think it was more Daboll than Schoen with this quarterback shit. To go from Jones to DeVito and now to Locke. It's like, then why did you sign Drew Lock for? And eventually you went back to Locke. I think the quarterback room's going to look a whole lot different during the offseason. Do you want Tommy DeVito as your third quarterback? I don't think so. That 3rd pick is really enticing. Can we trade up? You can. But, I don't want Shedeur Sanders. I don't think, he might be saying the right things, but I think he really I think Vegas wants him. I think Vegas will do whatever it takes to get him. And I heard a thing yesterday that if the Browns can lure Pat Shurmur as their OC, then he might have, think about going there. But with their quarterback situation, when you have Deshaun Watson making $46 million guaranteed, and they're about $20 million over the cap, it's a little tough. I think Cleveland either trades down or they go get an offensive tackle. And let's say, for hypothetical, they say Travis Hunter, just to say, at pick 3. Do you really think he's going to play both ways? They're going to have him make a decision. You either go wide receiver or cornerback. I mean, doing it in college is one thing, but you're doing it in the pros with the speed of the game. It's very rare that you have two guys going two-way. Very rare. But I rather would take Cam Ward, because you desperately need a quarterback, and you need it to sign some offensive line depth. The second Andrew Thomas went down, they had a shuffle. And I saw that they had like the 10th different offensive line combination, which was like the most in the league. The first 5 or 6 weeks, it wasn't that like that. But if Andrew Thomas will come back healthy, and you got him and Illuminor in the tackles, and if you bring back Van Roten and you make him a center, then you can have John Michael Schmitz as a backup, and then you can get your interior addressed. But also, you need a cornerback. Because Deonte Banks isn't a cornerback one. Sorry. He was terrible this year. And the one thing that I'm looking at for next year is how this draft class goes into year 2. Will they improve or will they regress? That's the biggest question. If a new coach and a new philosophy and a player development is better and a better culture, then we'll see some improvement. But if Brian Daboll's retained, there's going to be no improvement whatsoever. So we'll probably see within the next, few hours or Tuesday what's going to happen in East Rutherford. But I think Brian Daboll's gone. And if you're going to start another head coaching search, get someone that has quality. Not a coordinator. We don't need another Daboll. Another first-time head coach as a coordinator. It just... Get a quality head coach. Get a young, creative offensive coordinator that will scheme these wide receivers open. And maybe try to get them from the college ranks. I mean, I heard Ken Dorsey's name just got available. I'd rather get somebody younger. That's, up with the times. And everyone's going to Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson ain't going to be available. He's staying in Detroit. So, I'm just hoping that everything will get better. But it's going to take a while. But I saw a couple of weeks back, and it isn't a bad idea. You know, since they're in this rebuild. You know what? Put the word out there. And I totally agree with this point that I was listening to on one of the Giant content creators. See what you can get for Dexter Lawrence. You don't think he's worth 2 firsts right now? Because, you know, the Giants are going to take at least a couple more years. 3 at the most. So Dexter Lawrence is going to be near 30. You think he's still going to be playing at a high level? And the Giants do a good job on, you know, developing good defensive tackles. You know, Hankins, Tomlinson. And when they know that they're done, you know, they just let them go. They let them walk. How about we try to get some draft capital for Dexter Lawrence? That wouldn't be a bad idea. And, you know, I just think the leadership on this team you know, the leaders were hurt, or from what I heard, that there was only like one captain in the last 7 weeks. And that's just, you know, and maybe Xavier McKinney was right when he said that the coaching don't let the leaders lead. And that was, you know, that was a very telling comment that, you know, and then he left for Green Bay, you know, and then he opened the first 5 weeks with an interception every game. I mean, he only finished with 7. He had 2 in the last 12 games. So, but this team needs a lot. This team needs to just rip up the foundation, pour new concrete, start over. Let Joe Schoen do what he needs to do. And he said it on Hard Knocks. He addressed the offensive line, which he did. But staying healthy is another thing. And then, you know, you got Daniel Jones, a wide receiver, that they desperately needed. You know, and I understand Joe Schoen's point that he had to protect himself because of Daniel Jones' injury history, and rightfully so. And then when he couldn't get Drake May, because he tried to get Drake May, he was like, you know what? This is the year for Daniel. You know what he really said? Daniel, you have no excuse now. And he played bad, and especially when you can't score points in one half against the worst defense in the league, that was the end of the road. And yes, he deserved to get benched, but the way that Dable, more Dable than Schoen, in my opinion, made it worse, and was just completely mishandled, just like the Eli situation. That was completely mishandled. And then, you know, and then I heard tonight on FAM that if they're gonna keep Brian Dable, John Mara should reach out to Tom Coughlin to mentor him. And I'm thinking, so wait, you're gonna go and get a coach who you basically pushed out the fucking door, and in his final press conference walked right by John Mara, and now you're going to ask that same owner to come back? Like, seriously? No. He wouldn't even do it. I mean, if Brian Dable's this offensive mind, there is no excuse. It's all on him why this team averaged 16 points a game when you have a stud wide receiver in Malik Nabers who broke the record, who broke the Giants' reception record, and he could have broken the rookie record, But Brian Dable mishandled that shit too, by switching guys in and out. And then, Drew Lock's final fucking pass to the Giants, because that's gonna that happens. That you throw it to fucking Jalen Hyatt, of all fucking people, and all the training camp, they pushed how Jalen Hyatt was going to be, improved for the second year. He caught 8 fucking passes. And he couldn't get on the field when Malik Nabers was hurt, when he had that concussion. And he couldn't stay, and he couldn't even get on the field or even generate any targets when Darius Slayton went down. And don't get me started about how they couldn't figure out how to use Wan'Dale Robinson. Yeah, he had 90 somewhat catches, top 15 in the league. Fucking yardage was in the fucking 50s. That is fucking terrible. He had 93 catches and had 600 fucking yards. He had 15 or 16 less catches than Malik Nabers. And yet Malik Nabers had almost 500 more, had almost 400 more yards than he did. And he's supposed to be this gadget player, because when we drafted him, because we were getting rid of that fucking one cleat Tony, because one, he couldn't stay on the field, and two, it was a fucking head case. But we all know where fucking one cleat is right now. He can't even fucking stay on a fucking NFL roster. But like I said, we get a new coaching staff, a new offensive scheme, and I think they're going to create ways to get Malik Nabers open, and you get Wan'Dale Robinson open, and you figure it out. And you get the quarterback. Yeah, we'll see what happens come April. But thank God that the fucking Giants season is over. The 100th fucking season. And it was just the worst season I've ever witnessed in my fucking entire life. And it's embarrassing. I mean, yes, they were competitive. Yes, they moved the ball up and down the field at times. But they couldn't fucking score. Or they make stupid mistakes on fucking discipline. That's on coaching. You make the same mistakes over and over and over each and every fucking week. That means the word is not fucking resonating. So therefore, new coaching and a new culture needs to happen. So that's about it for tonight. If if Dable gets fired, I'll probably come back on. But we'll see. I mean, we'll find out in the next few hours or day. But I can't stand losing. I can't stand this team has lost for too long. Things have to change.